Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Horse Business. And on today's episode, we sit down with Emily, an international dressage rider, gone from riding ponies all the way through to now training her own horse into one, looking to take it to the next level. Emily shares insights into how she's gone from taking what was just riding into riding and as a business, and gives her tips on how you could do the same. Please enjoy the show. Emily,
hi.
Thank you for meeting me.
That's okay.
And coming on the show. It's been quite an exciting year for you. You've been very busy.
Yeah.
And we met at London International, actually, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely. We met through Lorna, who owns 2 young horses that I'll hopefully be riding this year.
Yes, Dancer and what's the other one?
Coco Chanel.
Yes. Shout out to Lorna. Thank you. So, who is Emily and what do you do?
So I'm a dressage rider, but I mainly train. So that's how I sort of run my business, is through training people. I do also ride for people, but not as much anymore because I have quite a few horses to ride each day and I can't ride many more. So I then go into training in the evenings.
So are they your own horses that you're riding?
Yeah, so I have 4 of my own that I ride in the mornings. And then, so like my normal schedule will be like I get up and I ride straight away. I sometimes have a PT in the morning that I work with. And then in the afternoon, I'll go off and I'll train people. I usually start at 2:00, but if people, so some children I teach will like come out of school if they've got a sports session. So if that's the case, then obviously I'll teach those in the morning if that's where the session is. And then swap it around a bit. But my general day is like afternoon teaching and then evening teaching as well.
Wow, a lot of teaching.
Yeah.
I've actually seen some of the calendars you shared like on your socials, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of teaching.
Yeah. But to be fair, it's really good. And all of them, well, every single slot won't get filled with teaching, because obviously I have to leave travel time.
Yeah.
But they are now getting quite full. And also I'm really happy I've started I do like a Facebook calendar where I write out all of the times that I can do, and then people can like book into it in advance.
Cool. Yeah.
And it's really helped my business because I am not organised naturally. Like everybody knows that. So it gives me like some structure.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So you teach predominantly, you mentioned children. Is that your main business?
Yeah, I've sort of fallen into I teach everyone. I probably teach more adults than children, but I teach like quite a few pony riders. Well, not quite a few, a couple of pony riders that I'm really enjoying.
Nice.
Teaching.
Is that something you've done before?
Yeah, so I've got one rider who's on the pony team at the moment.
Yeah.
And then I've got another rider who hopefully will be soon.
Nice. No, brilliant.
Yeah.
So you're a dressage rider. I don't think we've said that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dressage. And like, what's your journey been? Because you're now doing a lot of the teaching.
Yeah.
You're helping Lorna, that's how we met. But, you know, have you been on ponies and horses all the way through?
No, I started off riding when I was 3. Okay. And then I did pony club, and then I started eventing. My mum didn't want me to go over B100 eventing, not that I was ever going to be talented enough to anyway. But so I ended up sort of stopping eventing. I did like a bit of everything. Okay. And then I went into dressage. So I hated dressage. I thought it was really boring. And I qualified for the under 25s because I knew I had to do some dressage to do like pony club stuff. So I went to this dressage show, and then I qualified, and then I went off to the under 25s. And then each day I thought, I could actually be a bit better. And then I got quite into it. Mm-hmm. And my pony that I had at the time like knocked over every single jump. Right. So there was like
not helpful.
Yeah, no hope there. And then my mum bought a Lusitano, and obviously they're from Spain, and he didn't like water, which is also fair enough. So there was no way that was happening there either. Yeah. So then I ended up doing dressage on him, and he was quite good at it. And then the more I did it, the more I loved it. And I don't think I would have been any good at eventing because I'm not brave enough. Like, you put up a fence, it's way too high. Like, you can be on the floor and it'll be too big for me. So yeah, that's basically how I got into dressage. And then I really wanted to do ponies. Like that would have been my dream at the time. But to buy a pony that was ready to go, because I decided about 14 or 15, so I'd need one pretty much ready to go, was too expensive. And also I'm like 5'9" now, and I was probably almost 5'9" then. So that was like, that probably wasn't going to be the thing I was going to be good at. Because my balance would just be so wrong because I was so tall. So I ended up going into horses quite quickly. And then I bought my first horse from Holland. So my trainer used to work out there, or I think she worked in Germany, but we ended up going to Holland to an agent who I'm still friends with now, and she still sends me some nice horses to look at, which is cool. And so I went out there and I viewed loads of horses, and I ended up buying Toti, who is like my main horse now. She's she is Gribaldi cross jazz, so I learnt very quickly how hot dressage horses are.
Yes, that was a mix for you.
When I bought her, I went into like a stable yard, and it was all in one big barn, and she hadn't been like outside in ages, bless her. So even when we brought her out, because my mum's a vet, so she did like a quick vetting then to see whether she'd want to put her through a vetting for insurance, because she was like, if it's not going to pass me, then what's the point of me getting a vet in? So she did the vetting. And as soon as we brought her outside, like the light hit her eyes, she was like so shocked, bless her, because she hadn't been outside in that long, which is really sad. But anyway, we ran the whole vetting, and she passed it. And I think it was actually the second time we went out. The first time I went out, she was up for way too much money, and then she had x-rays done. Somebody else went to buy her, and the x-rays weren't that good. And my mum looked at them and she was like, oh, they're good enough, like she'll be fine. So I then tried her, and she was like a really good quality horse, but she was sharp then, so she reared when I tried her. I'm not sure why that'd be like what you'd buy a 14-year-old child, but it just is how it is. And then we bought her.
Fair enough. Nice.
So then I got her home, and she was like nuts. Like she's still one of the nuttiest horses I've probably seen. I had to bring her up to the arena with a lunge line. And she would like blind bolt on the lunge up there, so then there were circles all the way up.
Brilliant.
I had to remove all of the jumps from the arena because I literally would like nearly die going around the edge.
Why people breed these horses like that, I don't know.
I don't know who in their right mind thought those two bloodlines would even slightly work. Like hot and like backwards and explosive, like the works. And then my first foundation academy I brought her to, she used to squeal, so I got on her and I just about got into this arena. And it was like this enormous indoor, so half the arena was one lesson with one coach, and then the other lesson was with another coach. And the coach I was with, basically somebody started a lorry behind it. So she just blind bolted straight into the next lesson. I then like rounded up, sort of like a dog round and round these people. They were pinned in the middle. I was just like continuously lapping. And then the next day she was like, I think we need to change the bit. And then I went outside to do my test, and she was like so silly in her walk. I don't even know how she did it. She actually removed an overreach boot and it went towards the judge's car, which was a very nice sports car at the moment. So that was my first outing with her. It was quite lethal.
Bless her.
But yeah, she's actually a really cool horse, and she's now still hot, and she's 15, but she's so much better than what she ever was.
And what are you doing with her now?
Into one. I think she might go Grand Prix, but I'm still trying to teach the Piaf because lots of energy on the spot isn't going so well. Well, it actually is going quite well now, but it wasn't in the beginning. But everything else she actually has, I would say, for it. Which is really cool.
No, it's brilliant. So it's been quite a journey then. So you mentioned that your mum was a vet. So have you always been around horses then? I know you rode when you were 3, but have you always had horses?
Yeah, I have. Actually, so I used to be picked up by her, and she would have never finished work. So I'd go off to clients with her. And there was one client who actually bred dressage horses, where I went to her yard, and it's a really nice yard. And I used to like just sit and watch my mum do the sort of AIing and stuff.
Okay.
And then when she got older and the line finished, she actually gave me her last dressage horse.
Oh, wow.
But she was born windswept, so her leg was like always born at a funny angle.
Okay.
So she wasn't going to do the high level stuff, and we didn't push her. But she was backed really nicely, so she hacked, and now she's off at a loan home.
Oh,
and now
nice.
she's just come back this winter to retire with us. So
Oh, lovely.
it's really
Okay.
nice.
Yeah.
And I could still get on and give her a hack, and she'd love it,
Yeah.
and she'd be great. But
Yeah.
so I probably did get into dressage just from my mum
Yeah.
at these places.
She didn't want you to go eventing.
No.
Lovely. So, yeah. So you're now teaching other people. You're,
Yeah.
you know, helping others achieve their goals as well as progressing your own.
Yeah.
Where are you heading with all of this?
So I want to take on, I'm going to take on hopefully Lorna's 2 youngsters that will come to me. And then my horses are now getting older, and as they get older, I probably won't buy any more myself. I'll hopefully buy some with owners to like make it work financially. And then I'm just really enjoying teaching. So I teach, and I hope I'll get better at teaching and do my level 3. So yeah, that's basically where I'm going at the moment with that.
Yeah. So more teaching, because that gives you, I guess that's giving you your day-to-day income.
Yeah.
That's what you're working on there.
Who I am.
And then through owners and progression of horses in time, you're hoping to go like Grand Prix or something like that?
Yeah, I'd love to go Grand Prix. I really want to do a Grand Prix in the next couple of years, but I don't know whether it will happen or not.
It will happen if you want it to, and I'm
Hopefully.
sure it will. No, that's brilliant. And that really means, though, so you've gone through riding horses as a leisure activity.
Yeah.
You've now got to the stage. I mean, did you go to college or anything like that?
No. So I did my GCSEs quite well. And then I went into A-levels and I just couldn't cope with it at all.
Okay.
So I ended up leaving my school like 6 months into A-levels, and my mum was like, I don't know what to do with her. Like, she's 16, she's dropped out of school, and she was a really good student this time last year. Like, what do I do now? And I went and viewed a horse abroad because Toti had hurt herself at the time.
Okay.
So I sort of knew that might come to an end quite soon, which it actually hasn't, touch wood. And so I went abroad, and then this lady abroad offered me a job. So I ended up working in Denmark when I was 16.
Oh, wow. Tell me more about that. So was that just like a 6-month period or?
Yeah, it was just 6 months. And so I brought Ashley, and then I brought Toti out there too. And it was really good. So I got training every day, and I rode like everything as you do. And it was long hours, really hard work, but really good experience. And I think that was the first time I thought like, oh, I could actually do this as a job. Like, and I think seeing how other people run things is like really good and really interesting for me.
Would you say that's shaped you into what you do today?
Yeah, most definitely. Like, obviously, every yard you go to, there are things you like and things you don't like, and that's what you'll bring back to yourself. So they didn't have much turnout. They had like 2 turnout pens, and that wasn't for me. Like, I wanted mine to go out on grass, really. And like, I think as well, like abroad, they have so many horses to like one rider. So that was another thing. I thought, oh, I want to change that. But like generally, like how they managed them was really good, and it was quite interesting to watch.
No, I can only imagine. I've only been out to those countries to view horses.
Yeah.
I've been to some of the big shows and things like that.
That's so
but
cool.
I've never really got into the yards to see how they do things, really. But it's very different out there.
Yeah, definitely. I also like didn't speak a lot of Danish.
No. Well, I mean, why would you?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not a common language to speak in England.
No.
So I like went out there knowing like no Danish and lived with some Danish girls. And then we had some Romanians that we also lived with who spoke a bit of German, and my German was not good enough for them to understand.
No.
So that was quite a good experience.
Great experience. Yeah. So how old were you when you did that then?
16.
16, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a big thing to do at 16, actually.
Yeah. And to be by myself as well, and like live by myself. So that was quite good life experience, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I got to ride some really cool horses. Like some of them were like Grand Prix. and if like the main rider was away, I'd be allowed to like get on and stretch them or things like that.
Yeah.
And it's nice to ride with people every day. That's what I do miss now working by myself. It's like not having people watching me or like just being able to have a chat in between riding and things like that.
I guess, yeah, when you work riding on the peoples, it's like that. I suppose the plus side is when you're teaching, you do have that connection.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
But if you're just going to people, you know, people's premises or to your own and riding, I guess that is a little bit solid, you know, on your own.
Yeah. And it's also nice, like if you have a bad ride, you've got somebody else that was like, oh no, that wasn't actually so bad. Whereas like if you're in your own head and it was bad, like it's bad. Like, there's nobody else to tell you that it's good. Or if it's a good ride, like there's nobody there to correct you and be like, no, that wasn't actually that good. You need to change that. So yeah, that's the part I miss.
How did you transition from being a rider to being a business owner? Because that is essentially what you are now.
Yeah. So it was because I got injured.
Okay.
So I actually worked on a yard in Newmarket for a trainer, and I ruptured a disc in my back.
Wow.
And that basically meant I had to stop mucking out, and pretty much every job in the UK, if you signed up as a rider, you would have to do a lot of mucking out. And I called around and I kept asking people, because I went back to school for a period. So during that period, I was just trying to work out like where to go next, like what to do. And I just worked out all of the jobs I couldn't do because of the mucking out. So I was like, I went back home and we were in like COVID then. So I was like, oh, I've got to do something. So I started teaching and I started really like local, just like low level people. And then I've worked my way up. And I've done my BDCC level 2 and I really love it. Like I love every day at work now. And I'm really glad I went into it. And I love helping people and I love seeing so many different horses, so many different like problems different people have. Like I find that so interesting. So yeah, that's sort of how I got into it.
Okay. And on the racing yard, were you literally mucking out or were you riding out?
I wasn't on a racing yard.
Oh, not racing. Okay.
I was on a normal livery yard.
Okay.
Sort of like a bit of everything there. And I was... Well, I did rode a couple of times, but mainly just mucking out. And I was with my trainer at the time, so he used to give me lessons and it was really good, so I could get a bit better.
Okay, I'm trying to work out who it was.
It was Malcolm Holthausen.
Okay, no, I don't know actually.
No.
He's not still around there, is he? No.
Maybe.
No,
I don't actually know.
No,
I think
okay.
Maybe.
Because you're Norfolk now, aren't you? So,
yeah. There's not a lot that goes on in Norfolk.
No?
No.
Don't you love it there?
No, well, I do, but it's so far for competitions and stuff.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? That's the lovely thing about Newmarket. You really are sort of right on the point of like the couple of really big main roads.
And also for me, myself, this is one of the things I struggle with now is like getting training. Like there are no trainers nearby, which is great for me as a business because like there aren't many trainers. Like competition wise, there's like a lot of work, but then actually when I need the training myself, there's nobody about. But I'm hopefully doing like more FaceTime lessons.
Okay, you mentioned into that. Have you got one of those like podio things, whatever? Not, I don't know what they're called.
I do, but I prefer because somebody can zoom.
Okay,
I'm quite demanding. I get to be zoomed.
I find that in dressage.
Yeah, and also like the signal. Sometimes I don't know why, even in the same spot, it drops out. So like I get people to walk around the arena.
I'm glad I'm not that person.
Yeah, cold hands.
Yeah, like
dizzy.
No. Okay. You mentioned that you work with pony riders.
Yeah.
Are they pony riders that are like in the teams or like what are their aspirations? I was interested just to get into that.
So I have one rider who's in the teams, like not the European squad, but she was longlisted last year, but that was her first year doing internationals. And it's been very weird actually, like going to the big competitions and training and not riding, but it gives you like a really cool outside perspective. Like when you go back and ride there yourself, you feel a bit more relaxed because you've been on the other side of it.
Yes.
And yeah, I think I found it actually quite a lot of pressure at first, especially because you have like the team trainer watching as well. So I was like I'm very young to be a trainer. So like having them watching, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I good enough? Like, but she's doing really well. She got her first 70% at Valeview, like last month, and she's had pretty much like quite consistent, almost 70s for the last 5 months.
Nice.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
she came second at the CDI at Wellington.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she's really, really doing well now, which is really rewarding.
Yeah.
And I love like the high level stuff. Like I actually really like pressure. So it keeps me like super interested and thinking of new things.
No, absolutely. No, I get that. And I think there's a really poignant point in there about mindset though that you brought up. The resilience that you need in certain situations, especially when you're slightly younger, you're new to it, people have perceptions. Do you have particular ways you manage that, or are you literally just like you just tell yourself doesn't matter?
Honestly, I think it's just got better the more that I've done of it. Like the more teaching I've done, the more I brush it off now. Like even I had a pony club mum being like, I'm only here to tick a box to me. And I was like, well, if that's the case, I won't be here then. Like I was actually, but like now I'd probably just think that and leave. But like, like I think it is just a numbers game. Like the more you do, the better you get. And like also like my first time teaching at a Premier League felt like a big deal, whereas now going to a Premier League doesn't feel like a big deal for me to teach. Like it feels quite normal.
Yes.
And then it was the same thing with the CDI, but now I've taught quite a few CDIs. I'm like, oh, it's just normal. It's fine.
So it is. It's almost the pattern of doing the thing builds the confidence in that you know what you're doing for the thing. Yeah. Almost.
It's nice as well because my pressure is also split between teaching and riding. So like even if the teaching isn't going that well, then I can focus on the riding, or like that lesson didn't go so well. It's not all on one thing. Yeah. Like if I'm at a Premier League, I'm hopefully normally riding there as well. So I've like got that to think about too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, fantastic. So I think for anyone out there, either teaching, riding, doing business, it's all about having your thing and not letting other people's judgments, which feed into your own negative mindset, make you go, oh, well, I'm not good at this. You just have to keep doing it and move forward.
And even sometimes when you're thinking like, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I don't really even think into it. I'm like, well, that sort of thought doesn't matter. Like you've got to do it anyway. You're here. Somebody wants to pay you for your job. You've just got to do it.
I suppose there's value in that actually. Someone's asked you to be there. Yeah. So there's also that level of extra confidence added into it. Yeah. They wouldn't have asked you to be there if they didn't value your opinion on what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I used to think about it a lot more. And actually, I think the less I think about it and the more I just do it, the better. That's literally what works for me.
Yeah. No, just do it, basically. It's
Nike logo.
No, awesome. So then that takes us into your business side. I'd like to just spend a few minutes on that. We have mentioned on the transition to being a business, but how are you finding managing your own business? Because you must have been doing it, a couple of years? Yeah. So if someone else was going to come to you and say, oh, I really want to start teaching, but I'm scared of starting my own business, what do you say to them?
Okay, so I would say start teaching on the side and then use Facebook. Like Facebook is such a good tool that nobody uses. Everybody's quite into their Instagrams and their TikToks, but Facebook actually gets clients, especially like recommendations. And you see somebody's had a lesson with somebody, then that's what they like to see, I think. And then, so I started off not teaching very much, not earning very much in my first year. I started with my prices very low. So if you could have I would just start it as a second job and then like increase it into your main job. Because I was in COVID, so there was literally nothing that I could do. I just left. Well, I was still technically meant to be doing my A-levels but because of COVID, there was like nothing. We just got given our set grade from the beginning of the year. Okay. So that's when I started teaching. But I think if it wasn't that scenario, I would have had to have had a second job, but that was just how it worked at the time. And then I picked it up more and more, and then got more and more clients, and now it is a full-time job. But yeah, and I think also like don't keep the clients that aren't good to you. So if somebody like keeps changing every week, actually I was really scared in the beginning, being like, oh my god, I'm going to lose so much money if I lose a client. But actually you lose that client and it will honestly always replace with a better one. And then you've got like a nice client who doesn't cancel on you every week, or like with 1 day notice or something. And that is really hard as well from a business perspective, is the cancellations. I think that's probably the hardest part for me. but some I would feel unfair to charge. Like when the arenas are frozen, obviously I'm not going to charge them for nothing because that's unfair. But I think I just have to like take it on my shoulders that is going to be a day where I'm not going to earn anything, and that is how it is.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, because I struggle also with cancellation of the transport.
Yeah,
and I have to say I'm much firmer now than I used to be.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do also appreciate with horses, there's so many unknowns that could happen.
Yeah.
And it makes your business challenging in that sense. But if you plan for it and keep yourself a little budget and things like that, I can understand it. But it's interesting. I think that can be a really challenging point for people, though.
Yeah, definitely. So I just think with the,
Yeah, no. And so you mentioned Facebook a few times with your planning. Just explain to me that a little bit more, because I don't use Facebook. I mean, I use Facebook to find the clients. It sounds to me you might be using it a little bit more than that.
Yeah. So obviously there's group chat. So just on the finding part, like put out your clinic days and all of those on group chats.
Okay.
Or not group chats, like group forums. I'm not sure what they are.
Or is it just like the Facebook groups?
Yeah, that's
You've
what it is.
You've got your own Facebook group?
Oh, I don't have my own Facebook group.
Okay, but in the groups?
Yeah, so there's like, for my area, it's like all things horsey Norfolk.
Got you. Okay, yeah.
And that is really great advertising. That's how I started, and I actually don't do that anymore. And then something else I do is I do like a reduced clinic day. So like at my own base, and then I can put like loads of people in that are like really close to me, and it's a really easy day.
Yeah.
Or not a really easy day because I have lots of people, but it's like an easy day because I don't have to travel around.
Yes.
And then look at dates in advance. That makes such a difference to me. So I have all of the children's holidays like in my diary, and the bank holidays and things like that, because they're the days you want to put your clinics on, and like double check your area, like what's going on in that area. Don't go and put a clinic day on when there's like 5 competitions at every single venue. Not that Norfolk really has that. We have about 2 venues running, but if those 2 are on the go, everyone's going to be there. So, and think ahead with things like that, like Christmas time, like have a couple of, I do like reduced clinics over Christmas, because also like your salary will change on the month. So I know which months, like February is actually normally quite a low month, but it's actually been quite good this year. But I know that, and that's when I'll put those clinics on and in advance. Yeah,
okay. Just knowing your market and what's going on, basically, being aware.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What would you say one of your bigger challenges is in your business, though?
Just finance, just running.
Just trying to keep on top of.
Yeah, running horses. It's just so expensive.
Okay, yes.
To run the horses, but and then also it's just really long hours as well. Like I finish sometimes at like 8 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Or not sometimes, like pretty much every day.
I appreciate you finding the time to come here then.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, and I have my day off as a Monday, because the weekend is obviously when people are about to have their lessons, competition sometimes, quite often. Yeah.
So Monday's your day off. So you give yourself a day off then?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I still muck out, and I quite often end up riding if I'm competing that week on a Monday. But that's made a big difference. So I had a sports psychologist for a while, and she was like, well, if you want to perform at this level and this is like your middle, then you've got to rest down to that level too.
Okay.
So you've got to like let it swing both ways. And she was really great. Like she taught me loads. But that Monday was like, so I could like actually relax enough to then perform really well.
Brilliant.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I'd like to know a bit more about that. Is that something that you chose to go and do?
Yeah.
Or you fell into it?
So I did the juniors with Toti, and I just found it really hard because you have like a Premier League every month and you've got to perform really well. And so I ended up getting Steffi Damphney, who's really good. I'd recommend her highly. And she helped me so much. And actually just with like general stuff in life, like how to organise. And that was also how I really worked out that I was really interested in equine welfare, because we were just chatting about it one day.
Yeah, fair enough.
So that was quite cool too.
You're opening up more ideas here. So what do you mean you got interested in equine welfare? What was that?
So it was just sort of like, she sort of said I would find a niche, and then that was my niche, because so we used to, I used to have like a list of things that I do before a competition. So, and I'm like a very visual person. So I used to have like a little body, and then I would like have it like, oh, what I need to do mentally would be like things coming out of the head, and then like body, like legs, and like I've broken both of my elbows now, so that's like icing my arms.
Okay.
And and then I did it with the horse, and then like a lot of that started to focus on welfare.
Okay.
And obviously because my mum's a vet and I'm interested in like performance, it sort of sat all quite well together.
Yes.
And and then the more I looked into it, it was really interesting because like a lot of the things we did are very like old fashioned and based off of tradition, not off of the science and evidence that's coming out. And that for me is like, I think we need to move much more into like the evidence direction rather than the just like the old fashioned side.
Yeah.
But also then I did like learn to respect the fact that the old fashioned stuff almost in its own way was evidence, because it's like a lot of years of people trialing and testing things that even though it's not on paper, it might like work to a degree.
Yes.
So that was quite interesting.
You take me. You flashback to a podcast I do with Katie Holdervale. You must know of her. Yeah. She was very much talking about similar things and how there's so much science out there now, and it's the science versus the old-fashioned way. And it's a bit of a minefield. There's so many opinions that are the old-fashioned way. There's so much science now, but it's also always growing.
Yeah. Definitely.
So do you generally side with the science side of it these days?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't wear bandages on my horses at all. I just think like if you read the research, like above 40 degrees decreases like cell activity basically. So they get they like reduce their flexibility in their joints. But I will wear them for prize giving because I think for like if somebody's paid for your class to be there and a sponsor, they want to have a nice photo. So but yeah, like that. And then like all the massage pads I have and then icing.
Wow.
I'm really big into icing legs.
Okay. Wow, I think it's another whole episode though.
Yeah, it is.
Welfare of horses.
Yeah.
No, but it is really fascinating. It's a little bit similar in my experience to travelling horses with boots.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's like, oh, they've got to have, not all, they don't all say that, but a lot of people say they've got to have boots on. But then there's a hell of a lot of people that won't have boots on.
At all.
And I would say 90% of my clients don't have boots on now.
Really?
Yeah,
that's
most
so
of them
interesting.
don't. But there's always, I think particularly the dressage.
Yeah.
I don't know much about eventing and show jumping, but between what I do know, dressage, eventing, and sort of everyone else, they love to have the dressage, and everyone else likes to have boots on, but like the racing most certainly doesn't have boots on.
Yeah.
But I mean, the horse is in a stall, a bit like being stood in a stable.
Yeah.
If your driver can't drive correctly to not make it fall over, then that's a problem.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
So, but I mean, do you travel with boots on?
I do.
You do? Okay, interesting. So you'll travel with boots on, but you won't exercise with boots on?
No, I exercise with boots on, but I use a brand called Husk.
Okay.
And it's like breathable, and they've done studies on it. But I travel with boots and overreach boots on.
Okay. I get the overreaches. Yeah.
Because I don't like boots sitting too low on the legs. That is like, well, one of my pet hates with like travel boots is either them being too high, so they literally got like the coronary band out, which is like the most precious part of the leg, like what are you protecting? Or too low and they're like treading on it and falling over.
Yeah, it's tough actually.
So like the overreachers make them sit higher so they don't fall down. But I just had one that pulled down a partition last year. Okay. And to be fair, the boots did actually save his legs.
Yeah, so. I guess there is that.
And I do actually lie because I have stable bandages on.
Okay.
But only at shows because my mare rolled and like the metal like part of the stable, she hit her leg and fractured her leg.
Oh.
Yeah.
Understand why your bandages on then.
Yeah, and then another horse I had, a horse got loose and put its head into her stable and she double barreled out and her legs went through the like wooden stable door. Because I then did have boots, the bandages, it stopped her from like literally cutting all of her leg.
Legs,
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Horses, eh?
I know. But at home, nothing on the legs. Like they're all fine as they are.
Yeah. No, fair enough. No, that's good. Okay. So if there was going to be something that we could do to make your business better for you today, what would that be?
I think I just want to put some stables in at home. So
You want to grow the business by having stables
Yeah.
to have people bring their horses to you.
yeah, because it will save my travel time. And that's the direction I want to go in. So I ride for more people and then just teach in the evenings more than half the day.
And do you use any sort of systems for your inquiries or for your bookings or anything like that? Or is it literally pen and paper?
Apple Calendar. But I've worked out that doesn't work out if you go abroad and the hours change. Mine hasn't done very well with that.
Okay.
I had a big worry. But yeah, I use Apple Calendar and I just book them all in myself. I would try to have I thought about it for a long time, having like a booking system, but it's really hard when people are in different areas. And I don't want like somebody booking in that's in one side of the county on the same time that I'm literally at the other side of the county teaching.
Got you. Yeah.
Or I'll be like all over the place. So when I put my dates up on Facebook, I'm like, oh, in that area is that day already. So
okay, that's where it becomes
that.
challenging to have a system because it's very hard to find a system that can cater for that.
yeah.
It's interesting, and I'm sort of asking because I've spoken lately to a company called Cavago, who are a tech company. Well, we've mentioned it, and they are building out all this software, so you can have bookings and
That's really cool.
systems. But that is the only thing. Although you could go on there and you could let people inquire with you, and then you can respond.
Yeah.
There's no way of automating that yet because it's so bespoke to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is the main challenge. I'm not good at replying to messages. I'm really slow and I find it really hard. I'd like reply to them first thing on a Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Because that's like my first thing in the week. But I even worked out like last week by the time it was like midday, I had 32 messages.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And that was like I'd already replied that morning and I was like, that's quite a few to get
I have
through.
to say I'm a bit bad at messages.
Yeah.
I've got worse lately because I've got so busy.
Yeah.
And then I sit down to go through all the messages and you realise how far back they are. You get a bit embarrassed.
Yeah, literally that is me every week. And everybody knows they have to book that lesson in with me while I'm there or they like can't get hold of me.
Right.
Because I go to a show and when I'm at a show I have my phone on airplane mode because that's like part of my sports psychology. Like I like to focus on myself and like not distract myself with other stuff.
Yes.
So I like come back from this airplane mode for like 2 days and it's like wild.
I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So where are you heading off to next? So you got any big competitions coming up?
Actually, I'm mainly training because I don't think anyone says, well, they probably do actually, how hard it is going from like into 1 to into 2.
Yeah.
Because there was such a jump. Like everybody knows there's a jump between advanced, medium and PSG.
Yes.
But there's like a massive jump from into 1 and into 2 and they sound the same, but they're so different.
Yeah, they are. They are like you got PSG and into 1 and then there is quite a jump. It's almost like you're going to Grand Prix, although it's into 2. It's still
into
quite a
2
bit.
is so close to Grand Prix and so far from into 1. That's how it feels right now. But so I'm mainly training so I can like get more established with the higher levels because I think the horses that I have will do better at those. I mean, I've just qualified for the area festival finals, so I'll have those in April at into 1 with Toti, and I'm hoping she'll do well.
Yeah,
she came second at the finals in the summer and 4th at the finals at into 1 in the winter. So hopefully we'll do quite well. Yeah.
Hopefully she keeps calm.
Yeah. Well, I think she's old enough now.
Well, 15, isn't she?
Yeah.
So have you got any, I'm intrigued to ask actually, I don't usually do this on the podcast, have you got any questions as a business for someone who might be able to help you with anything?
Yeah, I think, I need to think about that.
It's not something I've done on the podcast before, I just sat here and I was like, maybe I could just ask you a question.
Yeah, like I would like it if like, I know obviously Carl did that masterclass last year, didn't he? Where it was like a business one, and I wish I would have gone to that, but I think I was busy at the time working. But I would love to like know how other people run their business at the higher levels.
Yeah. So you think like another sort of masterclass like that held by, some of these professionals that have done it for years would be helpful for people like yourself? Yeah,
definitely, because like there's not a lot of transparency with how the businesses are run with like the older, more established people for like the younger people like me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually why I started the podcast. Like, truth be told, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes as the business side of it.
Yeah.
How do people who are just starting or early adopters,
Yeah.
or how do they know what's been going on for years? How do they know how the business is run?
Yeah, definitely.
That's exactly why I started this. It's really interesting
Yeah.
to hear that from you.
I do think working on a yard like gives you that insight because you can watch it. So I did that quite a few times. And in my like summer holidays, I used to go and work for Kate Cowell and like Paul Fielder.
Yeah.
And I used to see how they ran theirs and how they earned their money. So I did have like a general idea.
Yeah.
But my parents told me I'd never be able to run a business.
Did they?
Yeah,
well, there you
never,
go.
ever. Yeah.
What do they say now?
Just about.
No, that's really interesting. And I think it's hard to run a business when you don't know where to start. And it's very like you can watch people and see what they do and see that they're teaching lessons and then they do, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But what you don't see is the accounts, the marketing, the processes and the systems that are behind it all.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where people will get stuck because you get stuck doing it by, I'm in the same situation now and I'm building a system, but I take messages, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram messages, but actually how do you then process that into a more manageable system so you can live the life and do what you need to do?
Yeah, I think it is just like booking it all in advance for me.
Yeah.
I've really found that way more useful. So like when I go to a lesson, that client will normally have me booked in until like April now.
Right, okay. So
and then I can manage where I'm going to be, which area I'm teaching at on which day. And I don't have like set areas for set days, but when they book in advance, it's so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think doing things like way more. Before I used to like be like, oh, what about next week? And that was how I ran it. Whereas now it's like, oh, I know until like end of March. Really.
Yeah, that's much more sustainable. That's a great piece of advice for any other equestrian businesses.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I do think increasing the transparency behind the business, increasing the awareness of how others are running it is going to be really helpful because we need to take this a common theme on the show is we need to take this industry from being outdated industrial business to being, I know it's very digital now, but how we find that middle ground so that we continue to do our services but offer it in a more this generation in a more futuristic way.
Definitely. I think there's like quite a long way to go in our industry. I think we're quite far behind.
We are. It's incredible. No, that's brilliant. Well, we're coming towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
What would be 2 pieces of advice that you would give to either a equestrian rider that wants to get better in their sport?
Yeah.
And or equestrian business person wanting to start their own enterprise like you have?
I need to think about that.
Take as much time as you want.
So I think a rider, I think a lot of horses can do a lot more than you think they can. Like they can normally go up the levels higher than you think that they can. And I don't I think as well, like I've ended up with some tricky horses. And like think laterally, like don't just think like the same method will not work on the same horse.
Yes.
And like they are totally different. Like even if you've got the same problem twice, it probably needs a different approach. And I wish that I'd known that sooner because like I was trying to just do the same thing with like a horse that was difficult, but actually he was so different to the last form of difficult that I'd had. And that was probably quite a lot of different things.
No, that wasn't. That was great.
And then like business wise, I think just be brave, and the sooner you take the leap, the better, because the sooner it starts, the sooner it's going to get better.
And if it doesn't get better, you learn from it and you'd go and do something else.
Yeah, literally just muddle your way through.
I mean, you're a great example, when your parents weren't sure that you'd be able to run a business.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've just got started, you've started off a bit disorganized and then you've got your systems in place and now you're a couple of years down the line and it's going really well.
Definitely. And I think everybody starts off a bit like that. Like I could have been the most organized person in the world and it's still... I don't know if it would have helped that much.
No, exactly.
In the beginning.
No, it's brilliant. Lovely. Well, we'll come to the end. Thank you ever so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. That was really kind.
No, not at all. And it's great. We're here to share people's stories because it's people like yourself that inspire other people, other generations to do the same thing.
Yeah, and you too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And I think without showcasing people like yourself, there's a big gap and people don't know what to do and they get overwhelmed and then they don't do anything.
Yeah, but definitely like people don't go into the equestrian industry enough. Like, and so many people are backed off, especially like by everybody around them saying they can't make money and you can.
Yeah.
It's expensive, so there's money somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good,
Yeah.
very good. So yeah, thank you ever so much for coming. How can people get hold of you if they want to get hold of you?
You can try messaging me.
You can try.
Yeah. And if I don't respond, keep messaging me.
Is that on Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah, so Instagram's Emily Collar _dressage.
Okay.
Facebook is Emily Collar Dressage.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think I will respond eventually.
Yeah. Probably a Tuesday.
Probably on a Tuesday morning.
Fantastic. All right, thank you ever so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cheers.